You think a sex cult is about sex, but it isn't. You think the trap is desire, but the trap is need. You think men get pulled into something like that because they're weak, stupid, dirty, or broken beyond repair. But that's not the truth. The truth is uglier and more useful than that. Men get pulled into systems like that because they are starving, and starving people will call poison a feast if it's served with enough certainty. That's what you need to understand from the start. The thing that owns you is almost never the thing it says it is. It's never just sex, never just women, never just pleasure, never just attention. It's worship. It's anesthetic. It's identity. It's borrowed significance. It's a counterfeit initiation for men who were never taught how to build themselves for real. And maybe that's why this hits you harder than you expected. Because some part of you already knows this isn't just about one cult. It's about every lie that tells you relief is the same thing as freedom. It's about every room you walked into hoping somebody else would tell you that you matter. It's about every version of you that said, if I can just get more of this, I'll finally feel whole, and then found yourself emptier, needier, softer, easier to control. If you're the kind of man who needs the truth repeated until it finally breaks through your excuses, subscribe now. Not for me, for you. Because comfort makes you forget, and you do forget. You forget when you're lonely. You forget when you're horny. You forget when you're tired. You forget when your standards slip and your hunger starts making decisions your character should be making. So subscribe if you need your spine reminded. Subscribe if you need the truth said plain. Subscribe if you're done being managed by appetites and ready to become a man who can manage himself. Here's what it really means, and if you hear nothing else, hear this. A sex cult is any system that teaches you to trade your dignity for stimulation, your judgment for permission, your identity for belonging, and then convinces you that your dependency is liberation. That's what it really is. That's the thesis. That's the core. And if you're honest, you know there are 1,000 modern versions of that same structure walking around dressed as entertainment, dating advice, status, freedom, self-expression, or male success. The misconception is simple. You think the danger is temptation? You think the problem is that the offer is too pleasurable, too seductive, too hard to resist. That's shallow thinking. The hard truth is this. The real danger is not that the offer is strong. The real danger is that you are empty. An empty man will kneel to anything that promises to fill him. He will kneel to a woman. He will kneel to a crowd. He will kneel to lust. He will kneel to fantasy. He will kneel to attention. He will kneel to the image of himself being wanted. Not because he's evil, because he has no center. That's called internal vacancy. An internal vacancy is one of the most expensive conditions a man can live with because it makes him programmable. If you don't know who you are, someone else will tell you. If you don't decide what matters, someone else will sell you meaning. If you don't build standards, someone else will hand you cravings and call them values. Then you'll mistake your own manipulation for your own freedom. That's how men get owned while thinking they're finally living. So why does it happen? Why does a man with eyes, with instincts, with intelligence still walk himself into systems that consume him? Because the root cause is rarely lust. Lust is just the bait. The root cause is shame. The root cause is loneliness. The root cause is father hunger, meaning hunger, touch hunger, validation hunger. The root cause is a life with no mission large enough to organize your impulses. The root cause is a nervous system trained to chase intensity because it no longer knows how to tolerate stillness. Read that again in your bones. A man who cannot tolerate stillness will worship intensity. That is why chaos feels alive to you. That is why toxic attention feels magnetic to you. That is why fantasy feels safer than reality. Reality demands responsibility. Fantasy only demands surrender. Reality asks you to build. Fantasy asks you to consume. Reality exposes who you are. Fantasy lets you pretend. And if a man has been numbing long enough, pretending starts to feel like peace. But it's not peace. It's sedation. And sedation always comes with a bill. The cost is never just moral, never just spiritual, never just sexual. It hits your whole life. You stop trusting your own mind. You stop respecting your own word. You stop feeling clean in your own body. You stop being able to sit in silence without reaching for something. You stop looking people in the eye with steadiness. You stop choosing. You start reacting. You start negotiating with your lower nature like it's an equal voice at the table. It isn't. You lose time. You lose edge. You lose discernment. You lose your ability to detect manipulation because you're too busy hoping the manipulator will choose you. You lose the sacred anger that should rise up when something tries to degrade you. And the worst part? You can still look functional from the outside. You can still go to work, still smile, still post, still joke, still look social, still call yourself free. That's the cruelest part of any prison built on appetite. The bars are inside you. Nobody sees them but you. And eventually even you stop seeing them because you decorate the cell. You call it exploration. You call it open-mindedness. You call it chemistry. You call it a phase. You call it a lifestyle. You call it no big deal. You call it just what men do. No, call it what it is. Dependency dressed up as identity. Self-abandonment dressed up as liberation. Hunger dressed up as pleasure. That's called possession. And possession doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks polished. Sometimes it looks modern. Sometimes it looks sexy, spiritual, progressive, awakened, exciting. Sometimes it looks like everybody around you is clapping for the very thing that's hollowing you out. So you ignore the one voice inside that still knows. The quiet one. The clean one. The part of you that doesn't need a committee to recognize poison. The part of you that says, this makes me smaller. This makes me weaker. This makes me less honest. This makes me less free. That voice is not repression. That voice is intelligence. But you've been taught to mistrust that voice because a man with discernment is hard to sell to. A man with boundaries is hard to addict. A man with standards is hard to shame. A man with purpose is hard to lure. So the world keeps telling you the same lie from different angles. Loosen up, give in, stop thinking, stop discerning, stop judging, stop saying no, stop guarding what matters, stop acting like your soul is worth protecting. Why? Because a man who protects his soul cannot be farmed. You need to hear something that may sting. A lot of what you call desire is grief. A lot of what you call chemistry is unresolved emptiness. A lot of what you call attraction is your nervous system recognizing a familiar wound pattern. A lot of what you call freedom is just permission to avoid the harder work of becoming someone solid. If you keep mislabeling the problem, you will keep prescribing yourself the wrong cure. You do not need more access. You need more integrity. You do not need more attention. You need more direction. You do not need more stimulation. You need more structure. You do not need to be chosen by more people. You need to stop abandoning yourself. That is the reframe. The reframe is this: your hunger is not proof that you should obey it. Your hunger is information. It tells you where you are underfed in reality. That's all. If you are starving for significance, your lust will become spiritual. If you are starving for touch, your body will make fantasy feel holy. If you are starving for certainty, any charismatic system will feel like truth. If you are starving for identity, any group that hands you one will feel like home. But borrowed identity always expires. And when it expires, you are left with the original debt plus interest. So the question is not, how do I get rid of desire? That's childish. You're a man. You are built with desire. The question is, what is desire serving? Is it serving your mission or is it swallowing it? Is it integrated under your principles or has it become your principles? Is it a fire in the furnace or is it burning the house down? That's where men split. Not at the level of urge, at the level of governance. Weak men are not men without desire. Weak men are men without command. Strong men are not numb. Strong men are ordered. They feel deeply. They see clearly. They choose deliberately. They know the difference between appetite and authority. And if you don't learn that difference, your life will be written by whatever part of you is loudest in the moment. Now let me give you the archetype, because every man needs an image of what right looks like when the fog clears. The man you are trying to become is not frantic. He is not thirsty. He is not bargaining with his own standards for 5 seconds of approval. He is not performing masculinity in public while privately being dragged around by compulsion. He is grounded. He is clean. He is hard to rush because he is not negotiating from lack. He does not confuse access with intimacy, novelty with meaning, heat with depth, seduction with power. He knows who he is before he walks into the room. That changes everything. He listens more than he brags. He watches patterns, not promises. He pays attention to what things do to his nervous system, his focus, his sleep, his honesty, his peace. He does not ask, "Can I get away with this?" He asks, "What does this turn me into?" That's a different man. That's an adult man. That's a man with rank inside himself. He can desire without collapsing. He can enjoy without worshiping. He can love without dissolving. He can walk away without theatrics. He can say no without explaining himself to people who benefit from his confusion. He can be alone without feeling abandoned. He can be silent without feeling empty. He can look at pleasure and ask, at what price? And if the price is self-respect, he doesn't buy. That man has boundaries, and not the weak kind people post about and then violate every weekend. Real boundaries. Quiet boundaries. Expensive boundaries. Boundaries that cost him options. Boundaries that make some people call him cold, rigid, intense, old-fashioned, hard to access. Good. Let them call it whatever they want. A boundary that costs you nothing protects nothing. He has purpose. Not because purpose is trendy, because purpose organizes energy. It tells his body where to go. It tells his mind what matters. It gives his urges a hierarchy. Men decay in randomness. Men sharpen in direction. When a man wakes up with no mission, appetite becomes his manager. When a man wakes up with a mission, appetite becomes a tool he can either use or refuse. He is grounded. That means he does not need constant emotional weather to feel real. He does not chase drama to feel alive. He does not need to be adored to know his value. He does not need to be constantly stimulated to avoid hearing himself think. He can work. He can wait. He can build. He can leave the phone face down. He can sit in a room with his own thoughts and not panic. That's strength. That's freedom. That's a man nobody can cheaply own. And self-respect? Self-respect is not swagger. It is not chest beating. It is not domination. It is not loudness. Self-respect is the refusal to participate in your own diminishment. That's all. Simple, heavy, non-negotiable. You stop going where you become less honest. You stop doing what makes you split from yourself. You stop calling self-betrayal fun. You stop saying yes with your body when your spirit is saying no. You stop handing access to people, systems, and habits that leave you emptier than they found you. You stop. You stop. You stop. Then you build. This is where a lot of men want poetry, but what they need is instruction. So here it is. Do this. First, tell the truth in exact language. Not vague language. Exact language. This habit owns me. This relationship drains me. This environment makes me smaller. This pattern is not freedom. Precision cuts denial. Denial thrives in blur. Second, remove the glamour. Write down what it actually gives you and what it actually takes, not what it promises. What it produces? Does it give peace or does it give spikes and crashes? Does it give intimacy or does it give performance? Does it give strength or does it leave you ashamed, distracted, impulsive, and less able to lead your own life? Name the fruit. Stop falling in love with the packaging. Third, interrupt access. Distance is medicine. You don't heal in the room that trained you to betray yourself. You don't outgrow an addiction by keeping it on the nightstand. You don't reclaim your mind while feeding the exact loops that fracture it. Cut the channels. Block the entries. Leave the rooms. Lose the numbers. End the subscriptions. Cancel the rituals. Stop making your future self fight battles your present self is too cowardly to prevent. Fourth, retrain your body. Because this is not just philosophy. This is physiology. Wake up early. Lift heavy. Walk without headphones. Eat like you respect yourself. Sleep like recovery matters. Get sunlight. Breathe deeply. Sweat on purpose. Teach your system that aliveness does not require chaos. Teach your brain that peace is not boredom. Teach your body that discipline is not punishment. It is rescue. Fifth, replace false intensity with earned meaning. Build something. A business. A craft. A body. A discipline. A reputation. A real relationship with God if that is your path. A life that can hold your energy without leaking it everywhere. Men who don't build become consumers. Men who don't create become prey to whatever is created to capture them. Sixth, stop feeding fantasy. Fantasy is expensive because it steals appetite from real life. It makes ordinary effort feel dull. It makes real women, real work, real intimacy, real patience seem insufficient because your nervous system has been bribed by exaggeration. Come back to reality. Reality is where your power lives. Reality is where your promises matter. Reality is where your name gets built. Seventh, choose brotherhood over audience. An audience watches you perform. Brotherhood calls you out. An audience rewards your image. Brotherhood protects your integrity. An audience claps when you self-destruct as long as it looks entertaining. Brotherhood tells you to straighten your back, clean your room, tell the truth, leave the poison, and stop acting like your pain makes you special. Find men who respect discipline more than indulgence. Find men who are not impressed by your excuses. Find men who have built a life heavy enough to make your chaos look childish. 8th, practice refusal. Daily. In small things. Refuse the extra scroll. Refuse the cheap flirtation. Refuse the late-night impulse. Refuse the lie that says one more compromise doesn't matter. Every refusal is a vote. Every refusal says, I am under new leadership. Every refusal strengthens the man who will be able to refuse bigger things when the stakes are higher. 9th, forgive yourself without lowering the standard. This matters. Shame will try to turn your past into your identity. Don't let it. You may have bowed. You may have chased. You may have been played. You may have wasted years. Fine. Grieve it. Own it. Learn from it. But do not build a house in that graveyard. Repentance means turning, not wallowing, not self-hatred, not dramatic declarations with no behavioral change. Turn. Then prove the turn with repetition. And 10th, protect what returns. Because when your clarity starts coming back, the old world will come knocking. Old messages, old temptations, old loneliness, old narratives, old versions of you offering familiar pain because familiar pain feels safer than unfamiliar freedom. This is the moment men fail. Not because they don't know better, but because freedom feels naked at first. There's no script, no sedative, no artificial high. Just reality, just responsibility, just the slow dignity of becoming trustworthy to yourself again. Stay there. Stay in the quiet long enough for it to become strength. Stay in reality long enough for it to become beautiful. Stay in discipline long enough for it to become identity. Because that is what you are really after. Not control for control's sake. Not sterile perfection. Not repression. Integration. Wholeness. Authority. You want to become a man whose inner life is not at war with his stated values. You want to become a man who does not need double lives. You want to become a man who can be fully present because he is no longer fragmented. That's the win. That's the freedom. Not that you never feel hunger, but that hunger no longer gets a vote higher than your future. And let me say something else that matters. Some of you are still romanticizing the very thing that broke you. You still talk about it like it was exciting, wild, electric, unforgettable. Yes, poison can be memorable. Chaos can be intoxicating. Fireworks are not the same thing as warmth. Don't confuse spectacle with nourishment. Don't confuse being overwhelmed with being alive. Don't confuse the fact that something gripped you with the lie that it was good for you. What is good for you will not always flatter you. What is good for you will often ask more from you. What is good for you will usually feel quieter at first. What is good for you will make you stronger, cleaner, more focused, more honest. What is good for you will return you to yourself. That's how you know. And if you're listening to this as a man who feels late, listen carefully. Late is not dead. Late is not finished. Late is not disqualified. You are not ruined because you were hungry in the wrong places. You are not unworthy because you mistook intensity for love, permission for freedom, or belonging for truth. You are responsible now. That's different. Responsibility is not condemnation. Responsibility is power. The moment you can say, I participated in my own captivity, is the exact moment you can also say, then I can participate in my own release. That should light a fire in you. Because no one is coming to install self-respect into your life. No woman. No guru. No trend. No perfect routine. No viral clip. No one is going to hand you a finished identity and save you the cost of becoming. You must become. You must decide that your life will no longer be governed by whatever can most easily sedate you. You must decide that your body is not a hallway anybody gets to walk through. Your attention is not public property. Your spirit is not for rent. Your future is not negotiable with your cravings. Say it until it sounds like law. My attention is not public property. My spirit is not for rent. My future is not negotiable. My hunger does not outrank my honor. That's not corny. That's conditioning. Because for years you were conditioned downward, conditioned into passivity, conditioned into appetite, conditioned into fragmentation. Why would you be ashamed to condition yourself upward? Why would you whisper the truth when the lies were shouted at you every day? You need new repetition. New rituals, new reflexes, new standards, new proof. And the proof is not in what you feel tonight. The proof is in what you repeat for the next 100 days when nobody is watching and nothing feels cinematic. That's where men are built, not in dramatic declarations, in plain obedience to what they know is right, in private refusals, in boring consistency, in clean choices repeated until they stop feeling heroic and start feeling normal. One day you realize you can breathe again. One day you realize silence no longer scares you. One day you realize your gaze is steady. Your handshake is solid. Your laughter is cleaner. Your focus is back. Your body is yours again. Your mind is not constantly splitting toward the next hit. Your standards are no longer theories. They are architecture. That is one of the best feelings a man can earn. Not the high of being desired. The peace of being undivided. Undivided men are dangerous in the best way. They cannot be cheaply manipulated. They cannot be easily baited. They cannot be seduced away from their future by every glittering thing that offers relief. They build families, businesses, communities, art, order, culture. They make the room safer because they are in command of themselves. Their presence means something because it is backed by restraint. Their words mean something because they are backed by action. Their love means something because it is not leaking everywhere. Become that man, not for applause, not to prove your masculinity to strangers, not to play saint, not to win some imaginary war against desire. Become that man because your life is worth leading well. Become that man because fractured men fracture everyone around them. Become that man because somebody has to break the pattern. Become that man because the boy in you has suffered enough from the absence of male leadership, and now the man in you must provide it. You are not waiting for rescue. You are not waiting for permission. You are not waiting for the perfect time. You are the answer. Not the old you, not the compulsive you, not the performative you, the honest you, the governed you, the disciplined you, the man who finally got tired of bleeding his power into things that could never love him back. The man who stopped asking appetite to tell him who he is. The man who looked at his life without flinching and said, "No more. I come back to myself now." That is your identity reset. And if this hit you where it needed to hit you, subscribe. Again, not because I need a number, because you need truth in your feed more than temptation in your feed. You need reminders strong enough to interrupt the old story. You need clarity before craving makes another decision for you. Subscribe if you're choosing self-respect over sedation, purpose over appetite, reality over fantasy. Stay close if you want more of that. Stay close if you want words that call the man in you forward instead of talking the boy in you to sleep. You're not alone in this. There are men rebuilding, men getting clean in their minds, men returning to discipline, men choosing standards over spikes, peace over chaos, truth over comfort. Stand with them, build with them, become one of them.